Thank you for coming to listen to the last of the Velveteen Rabbit. Yesterday, the rabbit had been sent to be burnt because he was considered germy with scarlet fever. And he was crying because he was going to miss being with the boy. And he shed a real tear, and the tear landed on the ground, and a flower grew from it. That's where we're going to pick up from. It had slender green leaves, the color of emeralds, and in the center of the leaves a blossom, like a golden cup. It was beautiful, so beautiful that the rabbit forgot to cry and just laid there watching it. And presently the blossom opened up, and out of it stepped a fairy. She was quite the loveliest fairy in the whole world. Her dress was of pearl and dewdrops, and there were flowers around her neck and in her hair, and her face was like the most perfect flower of all. And she came close to the little rabbit and gathered him up in her arms and kissed him on his velveteen nose that was all damp from crying. "Little rabbit," she said, "don't you know who I am?" And the rabbit looked up at her, and it seemed to him that he had seen her face before, but he couldn't think where. "I am the nursery magic fairy," she said. "I take care of all playthings that children have loved. And when they are old and worn out and the children don't need them anymore, then I come and take them away with me and turn them into real." "Wasn't I real before?" asked the little rabbit. "You are real to the boy," said the fairy. "Because he loved you, and now you shall be real to everyone." And she held the little rabbit close in her arms and flew with him into the wood. It was light now, for the moon had risen, and all the forest was beautiful, and the fronds of the bracken shone like frosted silver. And in the open glade, there between the trunks, the wild rabbits danced with their shadows on the velvet grass. But when they saw the fairy, they all stopped dancing and stood around in a ring to stare at her. "I brought you a new playfellow," said the fairy. "You must be kind to him and teach him all he needs to know in Rabbit Land, for he is going to live with you forever and ever." And then she kissed the little rabbit again and put him down on the grass. "Run and play, little rabbit," she said. But the little rabbit sat quite still for a moment and never moved. For when he saw all the wild rabbits dancing around him, he suddenly remembered about his hind legs, and he didn't want them to see that he was made all in one piece. He did not know that when the fairy kissed him that last time, he had changed altogether. He might have sat there for a long time, too shy to move, if just then something hadn't tickled his nose, and before he thought about it, doing it, he lifted up his hind toe to scratch it. And he found that he actually had hind legs. Instead of dingy velveteen, he had brown fur, soft and shiny, and his ears twitched by themselves, and his whiskers were so long that they brushed the grass. He gave one leap of joy. Using those hind legs was so great that he sprang about the turf on them, jumping sideways and whirling around as the others did. And he grew so excited that when at last he did stop to look for the fairy, she had gone. He was a real rabbit at last, at home with the other rabbits. Autumn passed, and winter, and in the spring, when the days grew warm and sunny, the boy went out to play in the wood behind the house, and while he was playing, two rabbits crept out of the bracken and peeped at him. One of them was brown all over, but the other one had strange markings under his fur. as though long ago it had been spotted, and the spots still showed through. And about his little soft nose and his round black eyes were something familiar, so that the boy thought to himself, "Why, he looks just like my old bunny, the one I lost when I had scarlet fever." But he never knew that it really was his own bunny, come back to look at the child who had helped to make him real. Now, I have a bit of a surprise. You probably saw him sitting over the side. This is my own Velveteen Rabbit from when I was a kid. And he does not have ears anymore. And I replaced his tail once, and this is what's left. I even replaced his eyes. And he used to play music, but that broke a long time ago too. In fact, he was quite lovely when I got him for my very first Easter. Here I am with my bunny. I wonder which one of your very special stuffed animals is loved so much that you might keep him your entire life. Have a great weekend.